Good morning. Namaste. I am Dr. Uma Kiruvital, Department of Food Biotechnology, Faculty of Agriculture and Veterinary Sciences, Jayoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. And I'll be taking the course on Metabolism and Bioenergetics Lab. So this is the third session for the principle and operation of spectrophotometer. In this session, we will be handling how to actually conduct an experiment in order to determine the operation of a spectrophotometer. So for a spectrophotometer, here we will be using a single beam spectrophotometer. So what is a single beam and a dual beam spectrophotometer? So as I had shown you earlier, there are spectrophotometers where so as I had shown you, there is this spectrophotometer where a light will be passing through, and then it will be passing through a cuvette, and then it will be going through a through a photoresistor, where it will determine the amount of transmittance. And once the amount of transmittance is measured, then it will be amplified, and then the absorbance will be calculated based on the amount of transmittance, and then you get the absorbance value. So this is essentially a single beam spectrophotometer. Now, what is a dual beam spectrophotometer? In a dual beam spectrophotometer, what happens is there will be a reference as well. So instead of this, from here, there will be two cuvettes kept. And with that, like one, and the beam of light will be split. And one beam of light will pass through the reference section where a blank will be kept. And that will also go to another photoresistor and be detected. And then the value of these two photoresistors, it will also be subtracted, so that you get a more accurate value, because every time you are using a sample, you will have an accurate value. So over here, we will be basically using a single beam spectrophotometer, where you will be using initially a blank value in order to blank the instrument. So what is blanking an instrument? Say if you are using a chemical, and like you are using a chemical, and so you have used a ferrocyanide solution for a reaction, and so your unreacted solution will be something like this. Your unreacted solution will be something like this. And then depending on the amount of reactant in the solution, you will have increasing amounts of reaction, which will give increasing amounts of product. So this is a green colored solution. So this will mostly be measured in the 400 nanometer spectrum. And so what you will be measuring out of this, because this is a yellow greenish spectrum, and so this will be, no, the blank is in a sorry, so this blank is in a yellow spectrum. So we need light to pass through it and not detect the unreacted solution. So your blank will be in the yellow spectrum, and so your measurement wavelength will be in the yellow spectrum, where none of the light will be absorbed. And then you will keep this solution where no reaction has taken place, because you have not added the amount of reactant which will react with the solution to give the green color is 0. So this yellow colored solution, it will be kept used as a blank. Now, but since it is yellow in color, there will be some amount of scattering that could happen. What you will be doing is, there will be a setting in your spectrophotometer by which you will take the solution and you will press auto zero. And once you are pressing the auto zero, it will be, the system knows that now this much amount of light, if it is lost, it can be neglected. So that is the intensity, whatever light has passed through it and detected at the photoresistor is your I naught. That is the intensity of light that is to be used. And that is the principle of blanking or auto zero. Now, once you have that, this will be the sample that you have collected from your various test tubes with varying amounts of your solute. And so this will have about say 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6 and 0.7. And by 0.7, maybe you will have a very concentrated amount of sample. And so maybe for this 0.7, you will need to dilute it further, half the like in equal amount of whatever solvent you are using. Like if you are using water, then in water. If you are using a buffer, then in that buffer you will be diluting it and then again taking the measurement and then multiplying it by the dilution factor, which since you have used an equal volume of water or buffer, it will be the same. So it will be the dilution factor will be 2 over here. So that is how you will be measuring taking measurements in a spectrophotometer. So for this instrument, for this experiment, what you will be doing is you will be taking a simple salt, say cobalt chloride or something like that, which has got a blue color. And once you have that salt with you, you will be making a stock solution of say 1 molar that will be very intense blue in color. And once you have that, then you will be making multiple dilutions of it. So then you will be having 0.1. So I hope you are aware of the principle of serial dilution. So once you have this 1 molar solution, then you will be taking 1 ml from that and adding it to 9 ml of water in order to have 0.1 molar solution. You will be taking 2 ml and adding it to 8 ml in order to get a 0.2 molar solution. 0.3 3 ml plus 7 ml to get a 0.3 molar solution. 4 ml plus 6 ml to get 0.4. 5 ml plus 5 ml for 0.5. And then 0.6 ml of your cobalt chloride solution and 6 ml of your cobalt chloride solution and 4 ml of your water in order to get a 0.6 molar solution. And that way you will be preparing 10 test tubes of from 0.1 to 1 molar solution. And you will also have plain water, which will be your blank. So your first step is take 1 ml of water in a cuvette. And with that, you will be blanking your instrument. So what you will be doing is you will be taking 1 ml of water in a cuvette, placing it in the cuvette holder in the instrument. And initially, you have to first turn on the spectrophotometer, set the wavelength and let it warm up, because the lamp has to warm up and then only it will start emitting the light at the proper wavelength. So once the equipment has warmed up, then you will place your cuvette containing water and then press blank or auto zero. Once that happens, now your instrument knows that this amount of absorbance is allowed for your sample. Whatever light got scattered through the water is your base scattering or the base absorbance, and that can be neglected. So this will be put as zero absorbance by the system. And then with that, next you will be taking increasing concentrations. It is not good for the instrument if you're keeping random values. Then there is always a chance of an error being generated. So under normal circumstances, what you will be doing is first you will be keeping your 0.1, then your 0.2 molar solution, then your 0.3 molar solution, 0.4 molar solution, 0.5 molar solution, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and 1.0. Now you have got 10 absorbance values. So what you will be doing is, in your cuvette, you need only 1 ml of your solution, but you have prepared 10 ml of solution. So you will be taking these values 3 times. You will be pipetting 1 ml into your cuvette every time, and then you will be taking these value 3 times so that you have your values in triplicate. Now, the value that you'll be using for your standard graph will be actually your the average of these values. Now, if you're plotting it in Excel, there is also the option for mean and the standard deviation. So if you can calculate the standard deviation of it and plot it accordingly, then you will get the standard deviation also. So how much variation you are getting between 3 samples that ought to have, under ideal circumstances, given you the same reading. So the standard deviation is also a good measurement of how much error you are bringing into your system, or how much error the instrument is having between reading to reading. It could be manual error. Mostly it is manual error because most of the instruments are well calibrated. But there could be some fluctuations in the instrument as well that is giving you variations in readings. So these are all things that you need to be measuring at that time. So you will be taking your readings in triplicate. And once you have your readings in triplicate, you will be taking the mean and the standard deviation for this one value. So say at 0.1 molar, and then you will be plotting it. So essentially, your reading should look something like this. Like I'll no. So I'll yeah, show you a basic graph that it's supposed to look like. So this is actually for Nelson's Homogy method. And then you are having your glucose concentration. So they have given it in microgram per ml. So as I said, this will be like 200, 250, 500, 750. So they've taken it in multiples of 250. So 250, if you say it's 1, then 500 will be 2, 750 will be 3, 1000 will be 4, 1250 will be 5, 1500 will be 6. So depending on that. And then the OD values have been calculated. So these error bars in here will be actually denoting the how much of a variation you have got between your triplicate values, and the dot value is your mean value, what you have obtained for your sample. And once you have plotted this, you could very well use Excel for this. Then you will be getting or you could use a graph and a normal graph paper, and then also you can plot it. So once you've done this, you will be getting a straight line. And with that straight line, you will be able to find out what your slope is. Now, if I am giving you a random concentration, you do not know the cobalt chloride concentration in there. I am giving you a random solution, and that will be your experiment. Find out the concentration of the cobalt chloride solution that has been given to you. Then what you need to do? Then what you will do is, you will take that solution. Again, I will be giving each of you 10 ml of that cobalt chloride solution. And so you will be taking the measurement for the absorbance measurement for that solution that has been given to you in triplicate, finding the mean value of that. And then you will be plotting that absorbance value. Like over here, if I gave you a solution and that has an absorbance value of 0.8 that you have now experimentally determined, then you will see what the 0.8 value is corresponding to. And then you are finding that it is coming somewhere in the range of, after 750 and between 750 and 1000, somewhere in the middle. So it will be coming to a value of 875. That will be your value. So then you can find out that the solution has got a concentration of 875 microgram per ml. So if it is a cobalt chloride solution and this came between 3 and 4, I mean 0.3 molar and 0.4 molar, then you will be giving me the value as 0.35 molar. That will be the molarity, the concentration of cobalt chloride in the solution of unknown concentration that has been given to you. So that would be the experiment that you are supposed to do, and this will be your result. That determination of the concentration of the unknown sample that was given to you. So this is the sum total of the experiment that you are supposed to do. With this, you are supposed to understand how you will be operating a spectrophotometer, because a spectrophotometer is an essential instrument for almost all of the experiments that you will be carrying out in this lab. And so understanding the spectrophotometer, how it works, how it can be used in order to calculate the concentrations of different compounds in a solution and all will be very important when it's coming to your this lab session. So kindly go through all the 3 sessions for this lab and understand the principle and operation of the spectrophotometer. That will be all for the session. Thank you. Have a good day.